I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it. They told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie. I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like told me, keep on running. Toes they gon' take them. Refuse to lose, built to win. Applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win. Applied myself.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm here to go over the Michigan State Wisconsin basketball game. As I said I would, a lot of discuss there, a lot of unpack there, especially if you're a Spartan fan. As you can see by my name, we got swept, lost to Wisconsin at the Brez. Then Wisconsin beat us at the Kohl Center. But before I get into it, I would like to ask that y'all leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, man. It helps the network grow. It helps the channel grow. You're on my current YouTube channel, Carl Talking College, YouTube channel affiliated with the Refuse to Lose Sports Network. We got other channels like the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave. We have BWT Baseball with Teddy, who just went over to Miami Marlins. We have Dave's Doghouse, where he just he makes dogs and put dogs in a doghouse. We have FFC Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs, which again he does fantasy football, but he's starting to transition a little bit to playoffs since fantasy football and all leagues are over. We have RBO, Real Ballers Only, who I believe went live yesterday. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, Vaughn. Busy day at work. We also have Joe Jordan's Kings Talk with Joe Jordan, which he went live basically this morning to talk about the Kings and Mavericks. So if you're a Kings fan, you want to learn about the Kings, or maybe you're interested in like players like De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, which the Kings stole, by the way, or other players, listen to Joe talk about the Kings. And last but certainly not least, we have in the red corner featuring Ty, Ricky, and Fast Camp. They go live every other Sunday. They talk about fighting, the science of fighting, boxing matches that just happened, things of that nature. You never know what you're going to get out of them, but you know it's going to be some combat sports, mainly boxing. So if you like that, please subscribe to In the Red Corner. But like I said, man, please like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the network and the channel grow. And follow, listen to a couple videos. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now, I do have a guest. He's been on the show multiple times. He's also my Michigan State brother. We graduated the same year, 2016. He's going to help me talk about this game. I would like to introduce my boy, y'all know him, Luke.
What's up, y'all? Carl, thanks for having me back on, man.
Appreciate you for being back. So we got an ugly game to talk about. We played on the road at the Kohl Center against Wisconsin Friday night, and we took a bad L. We lost 66-81. A game that we never had the lead in. We were losing from the jump. We cut it down a couple times to 2-3 points, sometimes 4, but we just never could get over that hump. Then once they got it to double digits, we couldn't get over the 8-9 point hump, and they just ran away with the game. I'm gonna read off a couple stats. I'm gonna let you have your talking points, and I'll jump in with some of mine. So a couple stats from that game Friday night. We have AJ Storr, who killed us all game. 28 points, 9-17 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. The transfer from St. John. We have Steven Crawl, 15.7 boards, also killed us. Connor Esigian, he had 8 points all in the first half. I believe he started the game 3 for 3. For MSU, we have Malik Hall with 13 points, 5-11 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. AJ Hogar, who had probably the best game of a Spartan that night, 19 points, 6-10 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3. Shocking from AJ. And we had Tyson Walker, who just picked the wrong night to have a bad shooting night. 4 for 14 from the field, 1 for 2 for 3, having 11 points total, 5 assists. honestly, before I let you go, I just want to say that Tyson kind of didn't look aggressive from the start. He looked a bit shaky. It looked like Wisconsin defense might have got to him. I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about the game and let me know what you think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a microcosm of like I think the entire season, maybe not. When I came out on this show in October to preview the game, I think the season, we talked about how excited we were for this backcourt at Michigan State, the Tyson Walker, AJ Hogard, Akins trio. But like you said, not all three of them have not played well at the same time all season. It's either one or the other, or two of the three. Akins was really struggling earlier this year with his shot. He's come on now, and like you said, now Tyson Walker kind of looked pretty. And like you said, I'd have to check some of the coverages, but he just didn't. He looked a little passive yesterday, which what I don't get, because it does seem like the only thing Michigan State is able to consistently do well is have Tyson Walker play well, which didn't happen last night for the first time in a long time. I think a lot of AJ Hogard's points last night were kind of shallow points, came towards the end of the game. A lot of them were at the free throw line. When he scores more than Akins and Tyson Walker, that usually is not a good sign. I think we usually don't play very well when that happens, because he needs to be running the ship and more of a facilitator, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, we thought we were going to be able to ride the guard play this year, and it just hasn't all come together. And that really exposes our backcourt, which consistently just gets killed on the boards.
Front court.
And we don't have anybody who could play with the back to the basket, which really hurts. I was hopeful, and he's only had a couple games to play, so I'm still gonna hold out hope for Jackson Kohler to be able to be that guy who can put his back to the basket and get some points. But he's defensively challenged too, so not the best scenario for this backcourt. And with a team like Wisconsin, who is just consistently tough, it almost looked like the same. What was really disappointing is that we all knew this was going to be a tough game coming in. So it's not like surprising, like a loss isn't surprising, but it's just the way it looked. It, like you said, like we cut it down a couple times, but like we never really looked like we were threatening in the game. So that was disappointing. It looked like kind of like a replay of the first game in East Lansing, which I thought we got exposed again. And I was hoping that we would be able to come into this game with maybe a different idea. And it just didn't seem like it was something that was improved upon from earlier this year. So yeah, I mean, game disappointing. And for me, time is a flat circle, and unfortunately, a disappointing year for Michigan State. I hope they can. I'm hopeful that they beat the teams they're supposed to beat and get into the tournament, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, not the team that we previewed earlier this year, Carl, which stinks. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on some of what I had to say there?
So before I give you my thoughts, I just wanted to read off some stats because I did preview the game and I did have some keys. So I said a key for MSU to be in this game would be getting out of transition and fast break points. We only had 7 fast break points. Unacceptable. It's not good enough. Wisconsin's a team where if you allow them to get their defense set, they can sink their teeth into their offense and disrupt it. I also said we have to limit second chance points from Wisconsin. Wisconsin has 17 second chance points off 12 offensive rebounds. Not going to be a successful day for you at the office, allowing that type of stuff. Now, I did say MSU has to shoot 35 to 40% from 3. We shot 43%, but we only shot 14 threes, making 6, so 6 of 14. While Wisconsin, they shot 36%. But that, like we talked about backstage, they shot them in volume. They shot 9 of 25. So they hit more threes than us. They took 11 more, but they also shot a pretty good percentage. They shot the percentage I wanted MSU to shoot. So you mix that with a front court that's going to – we all knew coming into this game the front court was going to dominate us. We would just have to win the guard play, like you said. Then not only that, you have AJ Store explode for daggone near 30 points, hitting bucket, just heartbreaking bucket after heartbreaking bucket. Wisconsin in general was doing that. Like, I remember watching the game. We'll cut it to 2. I think AJ cut it to 2 with like an and 1 layup. And then Wisconsin comes right back down and hits a 3. They were just hitting tough shots. AJ Storr hit like a 1-leg free throw line bucket. It was crazy. I thought for sure, I was like, ain't no way they're going in. And it just bottoms. Like, they were hitting heartbreaking shots after heartbreaking shots, keeping us at bay. And then we just couldn't break the then the dam got broke. There we go. The dam got broke and the flood happened and we just couldn't survive. Now, I agree with your point with Jackson Kolar. I actually was going to say it if you didn't. Coming into the year, when Kolar got healthy, I was hoping Kolar could be our guy that can get you buckets down low. And he tried. He did try. He's just not too successful in his attempts. Carson Cooper, man, he's active. I'll give Carson Cooper that. He is active. He plays actually well, in my opinion, on the defensive end of the floor. It's just offensively, he needs to flourish. These freshmen that we have, Cohen Carr is so ineffective because there's no threat of him shooting, not even a mid-range jumper. There's no threat of him shooting. So they just load the basket. Like, they just build a wall around the basket, dare you to come in there. And I've seen so many times when Cohen Carr get a kick out and they'll realize it's him and they're like, shoot it. We'll live with it. And he can't take advantage of that. So that limits his time on the floor, which he's a guy that can help us on the floor because, again, he's active defensively. He has bunnies. He can defend the rim. But offensively, he's just such a liability. Yeah. Xavier Booker, he came in and hit some garbage points, but it just seems like he can't get in the rhythm of what Tom Izzo wants either.
And that's the one that hurts, wouldn't you say? I think that one hurts, like, when you look at it in a whole, because this is such like a – now, you don't expect freshmen to do very much, and someone's like, oh, Tom Izzo doesn't start freshmen, but it's not like he hasn't. I mean, look at if you look back, I mean, he's started a lot of freshmen in the past. And if you're good enough, you're going to be on the floor. And this was our top, he's a top 10 player in the country. And maybe he's still coming into his own, but I was expecting a lot more from Xavier Booker this year. And, even the eye test, like, he's out there and he looks limited, especially against a team like Wisconsin. So I wasn't expecting him to get much tick. I'm actually surprised he got 6 minutes to begin with. But like you said, that was at the end of the game. So yeah, that one hurts too, because you're talking about getting buckets from your front court, relying on guys like Jackson Kolar. I really wish that it was a guy like Xavier Booker who could give us some relief in that way, but he's just not ready, and that's disappointing.
Yeah. I wanted to speak on Tyson. So Tyson, like I said, he looked passive. He didn't really look aggressive. I know Wisconsin at points were face guarding Tyson. They were trying their best efforts to not allow him to get going, because obviously that's the engine that makes this MSU team go. But, like, it was certain times Tyson would have the ball, and in situations where he had the ball, I was like, okay, Tyson's going to pull this. And he just didn't. He would pull it back, try to run a set. And I'm like, Tyson, we need you, bro. We need you to get going. Like, I understand, you getting a lot of defensive coverages, but you got to take advantage of even slight spaces of opportunity to shoot. Now, sometimes he would do it and he'll just miss badly, maybe rushing a shot or so. But I'll take it because you're our best player, bro. You average almost 20 points a game. We're going to ride or die with you, bro. It's not like you don't do it, we can turn to somebody else to do what you're doing. No, it's you have to do what you do. Whether you just off that night, whether you got it that night, so be it. We need you to do you consistently. Yeah. Also, we can't have Trey Holloman with 0 points and 0 assists.
Yeah,
that's not good.
That hurts too. Hurts too, because he's really like a sixth starter, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he really runs. I feel a lot more comfortable defensively when he's on the floor. And I think there's a stat after last week's Maryland game where I think we're 11-0 when Trey Holloman scores more than 10 points. So yeah, him not scoring, or he's also a facilitator. He played 17 minutes and didn't no assists, took one shot. Like that's
a 3, I think.
Yeah, that's that's odd. That seems weird to me. I don't understand that either.
Yeah, so just a lot of things hurt us in that game, and we already, like you said, we came into the game behind the 8 ball. I previewed it on the show. I actually picked Wisconsin to win, so for sure it came into the game behind the 8 ball, and we did not do things to help us out of that situation. Wisconsin gets a runaway dub. We now fall to 12-8, 4-5 in the Big Ten play. We're a game behind Maryland because Maryland beat Nebraska. But anything else before we talk about the season?
No, not specifically. We kind of summed it up. I was just going to comment one thing on your Tyson Walker take. Yeah, he looked really passive, and he's a really good. I think he wants to get other people involved too, because if, like we talked about with the guard play, if Akins, Walker play kind of like how they were playing in the tournament last year, where they're all on the same page, that's when the MSU team's the best. So sometimes I feel like Tyson is trying to make sure that he can get those guys involved in the game too. But at the end of the day, at a certain point, we're 20 games into the season now. We're kind of, we should be in the tournament if we win these games that we're supposed to be. But, he needs to, he's going to have to make a decision at some point in the back half of this Big Ten play where he's going to have to be like, hey, I got to take 20 shots a game. And I got to take over some of these games because he's a player that can. And that's going to be our best option here soon if Akins and Hogard can't pick up their play.
Exactly. I agree 100%. I've been saying that since last year, to be completely honest. Like, I understand you want to get guys going. I understand it's a team game. But sometimes you got to realize, man, hey, my team need me to score right now. And that's what I need to do. I need to score. Like, I get it. Coming the player, I like to play basketball. I get wanting to have your guys going. But you're too good to try to force people to get going, and now you're subtracting from yourself, and we can't have that at MSU, especially this year. So I get it, Tyson. I do get it if that's the thought process. Like, I got to get Jaden going. I got to get AJ. I got to get Malik going. I got to get these guys going. So then it opens up things for me. But you're so good that you creating your own stuff can open up things from them. You playmaking, your threat of scoring from anywhere on the floor can open up things for them. So sometimes you just got to look at it like that. I think I had one more point. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about AJ Hogard. Because you said you felt like a lot of his points were like, I guess, garbage. I don't want to misquote you, but I felt like you said something along the lines of that. I kind of disagree. I do feel like AJ was hitting. I think AJ was hitting shots that would get us close into the game. It's just AJ can't do it by himself. And as we all know, if you cut the basket off from AJ, he's not really as effective as he is going to the cup. Like, he's really good finishing around the rim. He's pretty decent mid-range wise, but anything beyond the mid-range, you're pretty much living with if you're guarding AJ. So you cut mid-range to the cup off, you're pretty much living with anything else. So I think that was the case there. But I would love to say great game, MSU, but it wasn't. It was not a good game for us by our standards. We'll get going to talk about the season so far. So MSU, like I said, currently sitting at 12-8, 4-5 in Big Ten play. Next Tuesday, our next game is Tuesday night at 9:00. We're not going to talk about the game. We're not going to preview it. I'm just letting it be known that we play Michigan Tuesday at 9:00 at night. Huge game in East Lansing. What do you think about the season so far?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I think they're in. We've had such a tough start to the Big Ten season in terms of teams that we play. We've played some tough teams here. And outside of like an outlier game against Purdue, and then we also we get Illinois back at the Brez too. Outside of those two games, the schedule does lighten up a little bit where I think we can put some wins together. And if we win the games we're supposed to win, I think that puts MSU at around 20 wins, and that gets us into the tournament. But it's kind of just so sad to talk about this season in that way, because when we previewed the season, we were talking about competing with Purdue for the Big Ten regular season championship, potentially a 1 seed for this team with Final Four aspirations. And that's just not the case. There had to be a real stark turnaround for me to get that confidence that I had in this team back. But it's interesting. It's like probably the rule of thirds. I think there's like really 3 things to sum up this season with. It's the lack of guard play that we thought that was going to be there. Like you said, like we're now shooting a decent percentage from 3. But what's interesting about that is that we're in the bottom half of of the Big Ten in 3 points made. I think we're 11. So while we just don't shoot enough volume, which is really interesting for it to have a trio of guards like that who you think would be able to get up more shots. We just don't have the volume, even though we're starting to shoot a better percentage. We don't shoot well from the free throw line either, and the front court is really is a lot worse than I think that we both expected. We didn't expect it to be great, but to literally not have a player outside Malik Hall, who, by the way, is only like 6'6", right, who can play with his back to the basket, it's really tough. And that affects things like three-point shooting, right? Because if you can just single coverage your front court, there's not a whole lot of room to swing the ball to kick it out for open shots from three. So it kind of starts to snowball from there. But moving forward in these last 10 games of the Big Ten, I would really like to see Tyson Walker get up 20 shots a game and see if he can kind of get this log jam amongst these other guards going. Because like you said, I think it's a really good point. I think if we're not going to get the play from our front court, then he has to get into the lane and start making more plays for other people, whether that be for himself or kickouts. So I think it kind of relies on Tyson a bit. But like I said, our schedule does get easier in the back half of the season, of this Big Ten season. So hopefully we can get some confidence going into Big Ten tournament play and be in a position to be comfortably in the tournament here.
Yeah, so I pretty much agree with basically everything you said. Again, like you said, front court has been severely disappointing going into the year, especially like again against Wisconsin. But we scored, besides Malik, we scored like 4 points in the front court. Unacceptable, really unacceptable. And what that does is it allows teams to plaster on the perimeter. Even when you're setting big and 1-4, 2-4, 2-5, 1-5 pick and rolls, they're not going to worry about the big. They'll just jump the guard because there's no threat of the big doing anything. And then even if the big does get the ball, they can recover because, again, there's no threat of the big doing anything. We need a big man that can pose a threat against the defense, so the defense then worries about the big on any screen and roll situations, which can then open up things for guys on the perimeter. Even with AJ, there's no threat of the big doing anything. So bigs can help guards when AJ come into the lane, because what he's going to do, drop it all to a guy that's not going to do anything? So it's just so many things that this front court has hindered us from, I think, our full potential this year, which is severely disappointing. Like you said, we both had Final Four aspirations coming into the year. In the back of my mind, that worried me, because every time MSU comes into a season with high expectations, it is never the same. But when we come into the season with not knowing what to expect, or we have, okay, we'll make the tournament, but maybe lose second round, that's when we make our runs. I'm hoping that we can make that 14-15 run with Trice and Denzel, but we don't have a Trice. Well, we do have a Trice. I lied. Rewind. We don't have a Brandon Dawson. We don't have the bigs down low to where we can where I can even fathom a 14-15 run. We have the guards to do so, but like you said, it's just so much inconsistent play between the guards, even from Tyson at times. So I think it's a gift that we're 12-8, considering the schedule we've played so far, considering we played Wisconsin twice. I think we've played Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken. I know we've beaten Maryland, we've beaten Penn State, we've beaten Minnesota. I know Nebraska loss was disappointing, very disappointing, but that was also another Tyson Walker or bust game. JMU game, I know I said it would be a tough one. I'm still disappointed we lost it, but I knew it would be tough.
And then a game like at Illinois, where you're in the game with a really good chance to win, you probably look back at the season and you're like, oh man, that's a game that you would have really loved to get. Especially when you're on the bubble. That would have been a huge game to pick up. We lost that game by 3 and we're in it and really had just as good of a chance to win it as Illinois did. So that one stings.
especially with no Terrence Shannon either. We had to take advantage of that one. I get it. Illinois was still a good team without Terrence Shannon. Marcus Domas has stepped up tremendously. Lord, now Shannon is back, but he stepped up while Shannon was gone tremendously. It was on the road, but we still needed that. That'd have been a huge win in terms of like net ranking and Ken Palm and quadrant wins. That would have been huge. So that one's going to sting. But I think we can still make the tournament. Like you said, we just got to win the games that we're supposed to win. I think we're going to have to make a pretty deep Big Ten tournament run. I think that is going to have to be in the cards for us to make the tournament, because there's a lot of teams out there, man, that's playing well, who have good wins, better records, and they still might not be in. Now, we can live off pedigree and Big Ten being a gauntlet. Maybe that gets us in, but in terms of records and wins, we're gonna have to string together a couple of win streaks. Our 3-game win streak has now been ended, but hey, we got, like I said, Michigan Tuesday. Maybe we can start another one there. That's pretty much all I got on the season so far.
A few questions for you though, Carl, because I want to talk Tom Izzo real quick, if you have a second. Just want to get your thoughts on what you think about his future. I'm not a guy that will ever chase Tom Izzo out. We're indebted to him, he's going to leave when he wants to leave. But a couple things, a couple of his top staff guys over the last few years being gone, taking other jobs, I think has really left him almost isolated in a way, where he was so stubborn to not hit the transfer portal this year. Didn't get one front court player. We knew that the front court was going to be an issue. He just doesn't believe in the transfer portal and decided not to, which, I mean, I understand you could have an opinion about the transfer portal and its ethical nature of it, but at the end of the day, like now you don't have a front court, and he's one of the few coaches that have made the decision not to go into the transfer portal, even for a body. We would love to get another body in the rotation. We're not even talking about someone like a star player. We just need somebody in this rotation that can maybe do something a little bit different. So I could see this season being such a disappointment for him specifically, because he's talked about it. He wants this second national championship more than I think anybody else, and what's keeping him around here. And with so much hype coming into the season, I know he thought that this was his team to do that. So when it's so clearly not, I wonder, with it being such a grind, and him getting older, what you think about a season like this could do to how he feels his future is playing out at the university. What are your thoughts there?
So I think Izzo, like you said, bro, Izzo leaves whenever he wants to leave. I don't think that man's getting fired, bro. He's done too much for the university. He got us out of the first scandal, even through with like the shooting and everything. He's just done so much for the university. I think he's a Spartan for life until whenever he says he's done.
100%. Yeah, he leaves on his own terms.
I want to talk about the transfer portal real quick. Forget the offseason. There was a guy coming out of Kansas State who basically got kicked off of Kansas State for whatever reason, in Naquan Tomlin. I don't even think that we actively tried to recruit him. He is now in Memphis. He is now currently playing. He was eligible immediately to play. Would have been a huge big. We went against him in the tournament. Izzo literally saw him in person. Would have been huge for MSU at this current juncture. Also had a guy like Jordan Brown who had the transfer portal out of Louisiana Lafayette that's also at Memphis. That would have been huge. So I agree. Him not hitting the transfer portal for a big, at least a serviceable big, it does hurt. Now, did he probably have a lot of faith in Booker and Kolar and Carson Cooper? Probably so. Probably so. But you saw mid-season wasn't going to work out. You had an opportunity to get a big that had to hit the transfer portal. Like I said, I don't even know if we actively recruited, bro. I do get Izzo's point of view with the transfer portal for him because of the style of coaching he's been since MSU. He's always been a guy who will bring a 2, 3, maybe a 4-star prospect in, maybe a 5 if we're lucky, but he always builds them up. That's MSU through basketball and football. Even since we've been going there, it's always bringing prospects that fit, and we will bring them up by their junior or senior year. They'll be like that. You wouldn't even think they was a 2 or 3-star prospect. But when you have this backcourt, and the talent that this backcourt has, and this is their last year, Tyson has to go. I believe AJ has to go.
Yeah.
Jaden, I'm not sure. But when you got these guys, you got to take advantage of the moment. And he had to hit the transfer portal. And I think that's going to suck. Now, to answer your question about how Izzo takes this, it's two ways you can take this. You can feel defeated, like, man, I'm never getting a second national championship. Or you can do what I think Izzo's going to do. And this is going to motivate you to coach harder, to recruit harder, to maybe even hit the transfer portal. Because let's not forget Tyson Walker.
Yeah, he might have to think about that, man. Because, like, yeah, it's putting his team and the program at a disadvantage.
Yeah, and let's not also forget Tyson Walker, our best player from the transfer portal. He transferred from Northeastern, so that's a transfer portal guy. He might really take that in consideration now, thinking like, okay, I can't be stuck in my ways. I have to adapt to where the game is going if I really want this second national title, which we all know he really wants. So I think this makes him hit the transfer portal. And who knows, man? Who knows what comes from it? He's already a really good recruiter. Now, you might say he's not a good recruiter when it comes to guys that can come in and play right away. I might disagree. I just think this year was just bad. I just think this year we probably went more so names and athletic ability over what we really need. But in terms of the body of work, Izzo's done really well. Cassius, Miles Bridges, Jaren Jackson, even like guys like Nick Ward and Xavier Tillman, those were good recruits. Now, I don't remember how high they were. But if you bring up guys like Rocket Watts, okay, cool. That was a miss. Fine. But it's few that you can say that he brought in that were misses. So, like I said, I think that he'll hit the transfer portal harder. I think this will motivate him even more, knowing the guy that Izzo is, man. He's not going to run away from a fight. He's not going to run away from a challenge. So, I think while this does hurt, I think he uses it as motivation if the season doesn't pan out.
I just hope that, he learns from it. Because you saw it too. I mean, like, one thing I disagree slightly on is the comparison between the football and basketball program from a recruiting standpoint, because Izzo has had big time classes, man. And this was one of them. And it was a top 3 recruiting class in the country. He had three of these guys were top 30 players in the country. And I think he was using that as kind of an excuse for not hitting the transfer portal. Because like you said, we like to pick our guys and get our guys in early in their career to kind of become program guys. But like you said, I mean, you can't expect a whole lot from freshmen, but I was expecting more than this from a class that was so highly touted. And like we talked about, Xavier Booker, hopefully can be a guy in the future, but not contributing this year. That's for sure. The one guy that I think had the highest trajectory was Jeremy Fears. Doesn't help our front court much. But I thought he was playing well, and he looked confident. And was getting tick and was playing good. And then obviously tragically had that thing happen to him back when he went home. And like you said, Cohen Carr is really. I think he's a program guy. He's a really good teammate. He's obviously probably the most athletic guy in the court anytime he's on the court. But like you said, I mean, he doesn't threaten anybody from 3. I'd love to see him rebound a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, this is why you kind of have to be attacking it from all angles between recruiting and the transfer portal, because it kind of leaves you with this void right now where you're kind of more searching for answers than anything. So we'll see. I'm going to be hopeful because I have no other reason or no other team in my fandom to be hopeful for. So I'm kind of like putting a lot of eggs in this basket, but yeah, we'll see how the second half of the season. Like I said, I'm so optimistic that we make the tournament, but and hopefully once you're in, hopefully these guards can potentially click, and then anything can happen. But yeah, it's kind of a sorrier state of affairs, I'd say.
Yeah, and just imagine, like, I know he's not a forward per se, he's like a big guard, but imagine if we could have swung Dalton Nitch from Tennessee to MSU. Imagine if we could have swung Grant Nelson from Alabama to MSU. Like, it's guys, man. It's guys out that hit the transfer portal from these mid-major schools and these D2 schools. Like, Georgia got a guy from, I believe, a D2 school who's leading them in scoring, and they have single-digit losses.
A lot of hoopers out there, boy. I'm telling you.
It's a lot of guys that you hit these transfer portals, man, that might have got missed due to whatever the reason may be, grades, not enough exposure that goes like I said, mid-major D2, do their thing. Where is he now? I think he's in Virginia now. Tanner Groves, I believe he's still at Virginia. And if I got the wrong brother, excuse me. But the guys from Eastern Washington, they went from Eastern Washington to Oklahoma to, like I said, now I believe he's at Virginia now. We had the guy from Ohio that went to Virginia. I can't remember his name. I know he was named after the Virginia coach. I can't remember. I think it's like Vanderplaus, but he went from Ohio to Virginia.
A lot of guys.
We had Hauser. Hauser came from
Marquette.
I can't remember.
Marquette,
yeah. There we go. Marquette came from Marquette, but it's a lot of guys, man. Izzo has to use that transfer portal.
I know.
I understand where you come from.
You mentioned Joey. How big? I mean, like, we how big was he last year?
Because he's the shooting, spacing. He's
kind of that front court guy that we need, that we're talking about. Like, the guy that we're talking about is Joey Hauser, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So you got to look back and think some of our success, Tyson, Joey, has come from the transfer portal. Now, a lot of our success, like you said, we had Cassius, we had Miles, we had Jaren Jackson. Well, I know we had the recruiting classes, but like the 3 recruiting classes you bring up this past year, it's not looking good so far. We had the Rocket Watch class. Didn't look. Isn't that when we lost second round after that first round?
Yeah, who else was in that class? I'm trying to think. Was that
like AJ? Nick Ward, right? I think like Nick Ward and Rocket, right?
Rocket, or was it, for some reason I think AJ was in that Rocket Watt class.
I don't think AJ was in there. Hogarth?
No.
I don't think AJ was in that one.
No,
because Rocket was when we was coming in. I mean, when we was leaving. Rocket was the class that was coming in when we was leaving. I think it was like Rocket and like Nick Ward, maybe Cassius. I think Cassius, Nick Ward, and Rocket were in the same class. But yeah, so I get we have sometimes recruiting classes, but my main point of bringing that up between the football and the basketball team is we built teams. Like our Rose Bowl team was full of guys that were recruits that built up to win that Rose Bowl game. Yeah, we had a couple of guys in that mix, but it was mainly full of guys that 2-3 stars, stuff like that. Our Cotton Bowl team, Kenneth Walker was the transfer portal. I will still never forget Peyton Thorne for not letting us be our full ability, but it was a bunch of guys in that class. Jaden Reed, Jalen Naylor, I think was on that main focus. A lot of guys that we built up. So I understand you, Izzo, but you got to hit that transfer portal, my boy. It's just the game we're in today. Look at North Carolina. North Carolina hit the transfer portal. They got Harrison Ingram. They got Cormac Ryan. Then you bring in Elliot Cadeau at point guard as a freshman to build with RJ Davis. Caleb Love steps off. They're balling. North Carolina's like on a 10-game win streak right now. So you have to hit the transfer portal.
Yeah, I know. And just for a point of clarification, Rocket Watts was the 2019 class with Malik Hall and Julius Marble, which...
Oh, that's right. Rocket was teammates with LaMelo Ball. I'm tripping.
Man, and another guy, right? Who hit. I mean, he had extenuating circumstances. Julius Marble. He had I think a death in the family and transferred back home to Texas. So it was more of a family decision. But another guy who was really flourished in his role at Texas A&M. He would have been another guy that we would have really welcomed this year, being a senior along with Malik Hall in the front court.
Exactly. So. Yeah, man. But if that's all you got, we'll wrap this up. It's been a great episode. Some might play the sad music behind some of this part, but it just is what it is. The season has not panned out. All right, I gotta get one more thing off. Because y'all know, I got accepted into South Carolina as a graduate school. Not only that, I've been a fan of South Carolina. So gotta shout out South Carolina at 17-3. Lamont Paris has turned this program around significantly quick. Shout out to Michi Johnson and shout out BJ Mack. The transfer out of Wofford, man, 2 huge additions. Michi Johnson coming over from Ohio State. Man, hey, once you left Ohio State, you was good with me, my boy. So shout out to them. But MSU, we got to pick it up, man. I just wanted like it was my junior year? Or was it my senior year where South Carolina made the Final Four, MSU was hooping. Like, bro, I just want that, please. And like my sophomore year when South Carolina finished in football 4 and MSU finished at 3, I just want something like that, man.
Some good side thing. We're paying the price for it. Apparently, I guess I didn't remember signing the deal that said that because we went there in such a good time that we could never experience success again. But that's what it feels like.
Exactly. We experienced the golden age of MSU, but at least we was there for that. So, any final words?
Stories. Yeah. Any
final words?
No, man. I'm excited to get some, championship Sunday. So I'll just say I'm pulling for your Ravens today. Take our mind off of some MSU hoops here today. So go Birds, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Flog Nation, stand up, baby. We are 3 hours and 15 minutes away from kickoff, maybe 3 hours and 25. You know how it go. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I can't wait. Trip to the Super Bowl on the line. Shout out the Lions, since I'm talking about MSU. Shout out the Lions. Hopefully the Lions beat the 49ers today. I want a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl. But I mean, hey man, in terms of college, MSU, we have to, like Luke and I said, we have to win the games. We have to win. Starts Tuesday. This cannot be the team that went from national championship aspirations to breaking the streak of Izzo making the tournament. This cannot be that team. And we're on the bubble of being that team. So please, let's finish strong, at least make the tournament. Let's get a game or two, and let's salvage the season. But with that being said, that's everything I have for y'all today. I may or may not be back tonight to preview Monday. Monday's slate's kind of trash. I don't know if I'll preview Monday or just come back Monday to preview Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll think about that and let y'all know. But until then, I will catch y'all next time. Peace.
All right.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all at the next episode.